Welcome to today's Heart of the Hustle. I am here with Elaine, my very good friend, the funniest person I know. And I'm so excited to have her here today. She is a professional comedian, speaking coach. She is my go-to for whenever I'm prepping for a big talk. She teaches me how to warm up, how to get confident on stage. She's great on getting confidence in front of the camera. And she helped me with my TED Talk. She's helped me with all my other keynotes. So I wanted to bring her here today to give you some laughs and tell you a little bit more about her. So welcome.
Well, thank you, Sherry. And I love your studio. It is gorgeous, of course. Everything you do is beautiful. Everything. You've got that touch.
I'm a little over the top. That's a nice way of saying I'm over the top.
But I love it. I mean, that's how you stand out. And that's what you're a marketing mentor. And that's how you help us distinguish ourselves, because there's a lot of coaches and things and business. And, how do you stand out, right? 8,000 messages a day. You work with Sherry.
Yep. Yep. All right. So tell us about your background. So I said that you were a professional comedian. How did that happen?
It's so crazy.
Were you 4 and making jokes at the...
No, I wasn't. I wanted to sing and dance. I did my first musical, The Sound of Music. I was the little girl Gretel. The sun has gone to bed and so must I. And I was like, oh my God, applause, love, family. Because my parents are divorced in the 70s. Nobody got divorced back then. And so I was like, the theater. And I really love it because it was one of the few constants, in a crazy, we moved, all the crazy stuff, alcoholic family. Anyway, so I moved to New York and I got sober at the same time. I had been in Austin doing a lot of singing, dancing, acting, voiceover commercials, but I would see the skyline and my heart would go pit-a-pat, right? And so I was like, I want to go study in New York and see what happens. But I was like, I'm going to be the next Meryl Streep. I'm going to be a serious actress. I was doing Meisner, or maybe I'll try to be Bernadette Peters, musical theater. Comedy was not on my radar. And so here I am. I know one person, everything's $1 million, right? You go to your apartment, you sneeze, it's like there goes your rent. Everything is you're at the grocery store, you're like, I'm buying grapes and they're $35. What? So I was so frustrated and angry, and I kept going to AA meetings and they go, don't change anything. And I was like, I've had to move 5 times. I'm temping because they couldn't wait tables for the first 90 days because you're not supposed to work around alcohol. And anyway, so the first couple of years were hard. And evidently I was very angry, but I was a victim, but I was funny. But of course I wasn't. I was just trying to go to acting and figure it out and find a rent that I could afford and find a restaurant that wasn't open until 2 with creepy guy, So I was just trying to figure it out. And finally, when the 50th casting director was like, you're really funny, you need to lighten up. And when a New Yorker tells you you're too intense, it's not good, right? So I was like, okay, I'm listening. So I took an improv class, and it was fun and hard and different. And they kept saying, don't try to be funny, be truthful, emotionally truthful in the moment. And it's like, anyway, so then I finally took a stand-up class, and I was so not funny. Go to class on hear my jokes, crickets. I go home and cry into my ice cream. What am I doing? So I just finished the damn class. So the night of the show, I had worked on my dysfunctional family stuff. That was the only thing that got a few chuckles in class. So I just was like, just finish the freaking class, Elaine. Just say that you tried it, and then you can go on to whatever you're supposed to be doing. So I'm in the show, and I'm talking about my dad as a dentist. He wouldn't let us eat candy. We could snort it. We just couldn't eat it because, your teeth and stuff. And everyone is like, and I'm like, my friend said I was like, I'm watching the audience, and I wish I'd videotaped it. This was before everybody had phones that, And so I was like, wow. And so I keep going, and I'm having to hold for laughs, which is so fun. And I had this light bulb moment of oh my God, I'm supposed to help people who maybe won't go to therapy or do the forum. And I can help them with my comedy and speaking and other ways. And my life made sense on a whole other level, because there had been addictions and trauma and abuse and you name it, domestic violence, it happened. And I had been on this healing path. And then, so I realized the more I heal, the more people I can help, the more impact I can have. And so stand up, that's how I kind of fell into it, because it was not on my bingo card at all when I moved to New York.
Isn't that how those things happen, though? They just fall in your lap sometimes, right? If you allow yourself to be open and you allow yourself to push through the discomfort, often there's a really interesting nugget on the other side. Either, the audience, roars or it's a dud, but at least at the end, but you at least stayed through it, right? Could you imagine if you dropped out of this class?
Well, yeah, I so agree with that, Sherry. I call it like happy accidents. And I've slowly learned to trust that, like, okay, I feel compelled to take this class or to study with this person. And then sometimes I don't get what I thought I was going to get. But then you meet somebody that you're like, I was supposed to meet her. Or, oh, sorry. I should know this. I'm a professional. What am I doing? Hitting the mic, Elaine? So, like, I feel like that's done so much. The forum, I was going to leave the forum. I was doing this 3-day course in November 97. And I was like, I'm not getting my big breakthrough. And luckily, I'm frugal. And I thought, Elaine, you already paid for it. Finish the dang class. But there was a part of me that was like, and that was Sunday morning was like my big aha spiritual awakening. And I was able to forgive my dad and my stepmother. And I felt black clouds of energy leaving my body. And I was like, okay, I don't know what is happening, but I want some more of this, please. Because I had been in therapy and I had tried meditation and I tried to put people in pink bubbles and I couldn't blow them away, But this worked for me. And I was like, I don't know what happened. I can't describe it, but I know I need more of this because I know there's a lot of darkness in here,
There's a lot happening inside me.
There's a lot of black shit. So yeah, happy accidents, totally.
And I think there's something so profound about people who choose their profession from a pain that they went through and as a way to say, like, I'm going to help other people through my superpower that I was given because I went through that, right? And for you, it was comedy and being able to heal through sharing.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, don't you think you and I both work with amazing entrepreneurs? And so many times what drives us is because we don't want people to suffer and struggle as long as we did, right? Like that really gets me up in the morning, helping other people find that creation, that creativity, and to be able to express it.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is hard for so many people. You and I, like, I was the same, theater kid.
Right.
Improv,
Opera.
The whole thing. Yeah, we did a little rendition of somewhere.
We might need some auto-tune in a post. I'm just, not for her, but for me, I was definitely flat.
We'll put that at the end of the episode.
Okay, if you make it all the way through, have we got a surprise for you?
Yeah, it'll be like a Marvel movie. At the very end, there'll be like the comedic relief.
I love those. That is some of my favorite thing. I love to watch the Office bloopers. Oh, and the Melissa McCarthy bloopers, like when Jason Bateman is like, oh my gosh, I love those.
There's a great Melissa McCarthy like little thing that's going around right now. And she's talking to, I can't remember her name. And this other woman saying like, Cher told me that if it doesn't matter in 5 years, it doesn't matter at all. And Melissa McCarthy just went, I wish Cher told me something. She did it. It was just she's just her timing. And I remember rewatching it and being like, her timing.
Right, now I'm like, I will have to go find that immediately on TikTok.
I'll find it and send it to you. Yeah, it's amazing.
My favorite one is like, she's in a principal's office and she's like, fighting with a couple over their kids. And she's like, I want to put my shoe up your bunghole. And I don't know if she was improving, but they are like losing it. And anyway, I just love her. I love her so much.
But that's like that it brings up an interesting point around timing, right? How do you is that something that you found came naturally to you? Because with comedy, it's all about timing. When do you put in the pauses? When don't you? And you helped me a lot with that in my TED Talk, right? That I wasn't just going straight through, right? Like, don't just hammer straight through. When do you intentionally take those pauses? When do you intentionally move across the stage? When do you give the beat? When do you not give the beat? And so do you think that was something that you learned or something that was sort of came naturally?
I love that question. Thank you. I think it's been a combo. I think a lot of things, because I grew up performing, so you learn to rehearse and you learn to practice and to warm up. when you learn like, ooh, we didn't have a good practice tonight, and you learn to use your instrument, and you learn like, ooh, when I'm nervous, my voice gets up higher, and who wants to listen to Minnie Mouse, right? Like, settle in, right? And I think also, and then I did Toastmasters for years and years and years, because Sherry, when I knew like, okay, I'm getting certified to be a coach, I will always be in the arts. I can never have like a desk job because I will shoot people in the afternoons or take cocaine, and I promised no more cocaine, right? And so I was like, okay, I want to be, and I knew I didn't know how to speak as Elaine. I knew how to be all these characters, Neil Simon, and so I went to Toastmasters and I picked the scariest New York City meeting, the Rough Riders, and it met in the bar building. So it was like marble, pictures of judges and robes. Like, I wanted to be out of my element. I wanted to be uncomfortable. And I would be like the last minute replacement speaker all the time. I sucked. I mean, I ate it. But that's how I knew I was going to grow. To like, okay, I have to write a speech tonight because I'm taking over for Mary because she can't, blah, 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 blah. And so it was a great gym. And so I learned a lot. And you also, it's all about speaking and learning to speak in front of other people. And it can be hindering in some instances, but if you're a very beginner, it's a great, great, great place to go play and practice and stuff. And so I think I learned a lot of that. And then also, I've had some amazing comedy mentors. Jessica Kirsten, she is on fire. I'm so proud of her. Like, she's like been close to hit it. And now she's like on this never ending tour. And if you get a chance to go see her, anyone who's watching, she's really, really freaking funny. Very New York, very Jewish. Oh my God. Daddy, I saw some aliens in a spaceship. Why didn't you buy me one? Like, she makes, and she does crowd work. And so like, I'll just give you an example. I had this thing about like, I can't have kids because I have white carpet. And a whole lot of white birth control pills. Oh, and a white couch, right? And so I used to do that, but I did it like I telegraphed it. Like, I can't have kids because I have white carpet. And it was, it was sort of hit or miss. Like, I thought it was a funny premise, but I was totally screwing up the delivery. And I was working with Jessica, and she said, no, throw it away. Take us on the ride of the joke. Have the, so I do a bit about like parents in the house. God bless you. I don't know how you do it. Oh my God, how many you got? Oh, 50, do all that bit. And then I go into, I couldn't have kids. And you can feel the audience is like, I thought this was a comedy show. Are we in therapy? Like, what the hell did she, and then that's the surprise. And so anyway, so I feel like I'm still learning. And that's why it's so great to have mentors and buddies. And I have this awesome buddy, Sheridan. She's always like, throw it away, Elaine, you push. Because I'm all, I love to punch and push, which is great. And sometimes a dry sort of throwaway is even freaking funnier. So I always love to encourage people to play, right? Like I would say, come on, Sherry, let's play. Like, so you have your speech. Yes, you want to do great. Yes, there's all the pressure of TED but let's play with it. Like, get up and roll around and pretend like you're Shakespeare and you're doing it to the rafters just to be over the top, which of course you're not going to do. But if you stretch that much, and then you can take it really little and be like an erotic Woody Allen or something, just to like get it in your body. And, when you can stretch like that, it helps you become less self-conscious. And then I think those are the moments when you realize like, oh, you know what? I really want to pause there. And I always pray, like, I want it to be organic and I want it to come out differently to a degree every time, because I don't like canned things. Now I get like, it's TEDx, you really need to practice, blah, blah, blah. But you still, that was the most beautifully crafted TEDx I've ever, and I've seen a ton of them. I watched them. I'm a total TEDx nerd. It was beautifully, beautifully crafted. And what I loved about it is that your delivery was still very in the moment. And even though I had seen your evolution with it, it was not that over-rehearsed. That unfortunately, like, I have several friends who've done TEDx's, and it's like, oh, it's so over-rehearsed. And now I'm going to cross the stage or, and I'm exaggerating to make a point, but unfortunately I'm not really exaggerating for a couple of people and I would never say their names and I'm not making fun of them. There is something that happens if you over rehearse. It's just like, you don't want to overwork a horse before the Kentucky Derby. That's kind of a weird analogy, but if you're busy, like we all are, there's no worry of over-rehearsing because we're always doing so many, what hat is you're on for the next 30 minutes for you, right?
You just said something really interesting, which is this idea of trying on other characters. And I think because I got sober so late in life and I realized that I was such a chameleon that I really struggled with allowing myself to be what I consider to be inauthentic. I'm using air quotes for anybody who's just listening and not watching, because I had such a hard time just being who I was. And I feel like it's already such an uphill battle to just be me, that to then try to be someone else and try to, I don't want to try on other skins because I'm afraid I'm going to like them. That was such an interesting, it was good for you to say that to me, because I remember doing that younger, right? When I was doing more acting, and that's one of the wonderful things about doing theater is you get to try on different characters, right? You get to live a different life for a little while. But when you spend your whole life codependent and as a chameleon, and then
who do you need me to be? What do you need me to say? I can pull it up. I can pull it back. Yeah.
Right. What do I need? How do I need to behave right now? And I'll do that. And then when you kind of make the decision not to do that, I think it actually has hindered me in some way, right? And I'm so glad when you said that to me during TED, like try on some, like, let's like you almost get robotic in your own authenticity. Did you find that, or has that been a struggle for you?
And I think what happens is, whenever we step into the next thing, right? Like if you were doing a talk for the chamber or, local, you wouldn't feel the pressure. But when it's something like a new arena or, people might, so we're suddenly self-conscious and we have this pressure, internal and external, which is why I'm always like, let's play. Like just throw it a we're just going to play. And that gives people permission, and like I just heard a quote, Will Ferrell. I mean, come on. Is he not like the funniest, most likable? We adore him, right? People freaking go crazy over this guy. He's so funny, right? And I heard an interview where he had just graduated college and he was doing the Groundlings and he was doing stand-up open mics. And he told to his dad, I think I want to pursue this comedy thing. And his dad said, go for it. And it's really hard. So make sure you give yourself permission to quit. Mm-hmm. When it becomes stressful or depressing or, I don't remember the exact thing, but he was basically like, it's okay to give yourself an out, like go for it. Yay. And, maybe you want to give yourself an X amount of time or whatever. But Will said that allowed him to have some space and take off some of the pressure. And if you think about it, like the next time you watch something of his, that's part of his genius is that sometimes he takes quite a while. Sometimes his characters will take a minute. Like he's not always louder, faster, funnier. And I mean, there's a place for that too. But I've been really playing with that of like, can I have a little more space with what I do? Can I come from a place of trust rather than I gotta, which is, I've been in a lot of that state forever. So that's one thing kind of fun that I hope everybody will listen to is like, how can I give myself some space, whether it's for speaking or making a video or trying something new or even on a date? And then I'm going to say this, Sherry. So if you don't know Sherry, like she is gorgeous. If you're not watching this, if you're listening, she is this beautiful redhead and she's tall and thin. And I'm really happy about how skinny she is. It's great to stand next to her when I'm 5'2.5". But no, she's this really beautifully put together woman. And unfortunately, sometimes that can be daunting. Other women can feel intimidated, competitive, and sometimes men are intimidated or competitive. If you're pretty and own your power, that is awesome. And it can bring the darkness, right? It can bring a lot of stuff. So, that's just something. And if you're a powerful woman listening to this, maybe you have this problem too. Here's what's interesting to me. And I've studied this, and I'm going to be writing more about it. So when a woman walks into a room in a business situation, there is an automatic unconscious bias. Is she smart looking and powerful and probably a bitch? Or is she warm and approachable and probably not as smart or competent? And that happens in a millisecond for women. Now, luckily, we're talking about it. We're overcoming it. There's, we're changing the game. We're having our own table, and so there's no ceilings like what we used to have to do. But I think that was a fabulous bias that I've been studying and listening to and thinking about. And so that is another thing that we get to overcome. And how do we do that? By being authentic, by being beautiful and imperfect, by showing your warts, and so like I had a client, she was like you, like tall, thin, pretty, blonde lady, very together, and like a freaking scientist, like not a rocket scientist, but like she was like perfect. She was perfect. And I was like, okay, if I'm having a bad day as a woman, it's Monday at work. Oh, here's this woman up on stage. I'm going to hate you for a minute. Like, you're going to walk on stage. So you're the expert. You're the badass. And now I have to listen to you and you're perfect. I'm going to have a really hard time as a woman from that cave woman, like instinctual place. Except if you can walk out and say, oh my God, 5 minutes ago I was covered in milk. My 3-year-old threw up on me. Or, I was just in the PTA line and I almost wanted to shoot the president. Like if you can share one little thing, one little self-deprecating thing where we see your warts, so to speak, and we see, oh, she's human. Now I can listen to her. Like, because there's that, oh, she's perfect. I hate her. And I hate to admit that because I love women and I like to think I'm evolved on these things. But there is a part of us that still has that cave woman competitive thing. And maybe that's not true for everybody, but I've seen a lot of women nodding their heads when I talk about it. And I talk about it so we can shift it, right? And it is like there's another meme going around about find the people who are empathetic because they're the smarter ones. Like the people who are the bullies and need to be right, they're in that tribal thing, and we see that happening, right? He said, find the people who are empathetic because they're more evolved. They're coming from a higher consciousness. And I'm like, whoa, I love that. And so anyway, I went off a little bit, sorry, but I just feel like that's an important thing. And I know it's asking a lot, ladies, like be the super mom and be the thing and grow your business. And now just know that people are going to hate you if you look two together. So be self-deprecating. So, these are nuances. And if you're just starting out, don't worry about it yet. But it's something to think about. And basically what I'm saying, if you think about it, is be authentic and be freaking human. And just know if you're coming out super credible, poised, if you can do some kind of self-deprecating thing, it will help the audience want to lean in, drop their walls, and really hear you. So that's really what I'm saying. That was just a long-ass way of saying it. Oops.
Well, and I think we were taught, especially like women of our generation, right? Like, one, work is work and personal is personal, and you don't show your humanity at work, and you have to be very blah, blah, blah. And I think we're now having the opportunity, in our 50s to break that down. But that means that we have to be willing to say, yeah, I'm standing up here in a $2,000 suit, but, also my Spanx are riding up my butt and I can barely breathe, right? And be willing to like be vulnerable and open about it and say like, I'm not doing great right now. And I remember you said this to me. I did a keynote at a conference that we went to, and you helped to prep me, and you were like, okay, what's your opening joke? And I was like, well, I'm not you're the comedian. I'm not the comedian. You're like, you're too pretty. You need an opener. You need to talk about your Spanx. You need to talk about something that you did that was, that was, and I don't remember, I was trying to remember what I said, but I remember I used something from that morning.
Or just feeling awkward or socially. Yeah, it was great. You were vulnerable, and everybody like leaned in. I'm sure you could feel it. It was It was so powerful. And it was so cool, Sherry, because I mean, it was a beautiful speech, but also you engage and allow people to engage with each other. And no other speaker did that. And people were saying, oh my God, I loved Sherry. She was my favorite. I heard that all weekend. And I was like, yes.
But it was so funny because I completely lost the audience. I mean, I let we did like this little exercise in the middle. And I couldn't get them back. And it was so weird. You trained me afterwards of like what to say. So what do you say?
Oh, I was going to say, let's give a tip. So that is one of the biggest fears. What if you get introduced and everybody's like on their phones or talking and they're like, and here she is. And you want to be like, so one of the best things you can do after an exercise or if you're getting introduced, anytime you need to pull focus, you can say, all right, everybody, put your hands together. Let's clap for your partners from that share. How was that? How was that? Now, here's the thing. You have to commit. You have to clap loudly and you have to really commit to it. And you nod your head, which is verbal. Come on, let's do this. And it's a great way. So let's just say so that's what happened, after the partner share. You say, clap for your partner. Yay, wasn't that great? You guys are awesome. Clap for yourselves. Comedians do this all the time, right? Now, let's say you just got introduced and nobody's listening or they're coming in from lunch, and that's always the hardest time to talk after lunch anyway. So that's when you can say, hey, give yourselves a round of applause for coming back after lunch. Who's ready for a nap? Like, you're stating what could be in somebody's mind of like, the slot after lunch, right? Or, hey, let's give it up for the producer, blah, blah, blah. She's worked so hard. Come on, let her hear it. Come on, put your hands together. So again, it takes courage and commitment. But what that does, it says, it's my turn. Shut up. And what happens, just think about it. You're on your phone and you're in the audience and you're on your phone and then everybody's clapping. You don't want to look like a jerk. So you're going to put your phone down and start clapping, even if you have no idea why you're clapping. Let's say you're in a conversation because you just met this woman who's like, oh my God, she knew my grandmother's mother, but and all of a sudden people start clapping. Oh, we'll talk later. Right. It's a human thing. You're walking to your seat, la, 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 la. They start clapping. Oh, I better find we started. It's such a powerful thing to do. I love that. And I got that from one of my mentors, Judy Carter, who does a lot about comedy and she's a hoot. But I think, there's little tips like that to help you manage the energy of a room that will help you master so that every time you talk, it's like, whoa.
One of the other favorite tips, and I want you to share this, is what do you do when a joke goes flat? So I spoke yesterday and I don't even remember what the joke I told. It was brilliant and super funny. But it wah wah wah, like no one laughed, and I heard you in my head because and so I want you to give the advice of like, what do you do if you're presenting and your joke falls flat?
Yes, and the voice that you used, I was like, oh, that's a funny voice. We're gonna have to play with that later. So yeah, that's the biggest fear, right? Because you're like, okay, and here's the joke. And it feels so vulnerable. You feel like, and then if nobody laughs, you have egg on your face. And then the audience feels bad for you and you're embarrassed. And it's like, that's why nobody wants to, right? So it's a savor line. There's different names for it. And it's basically like, all right, you know what? They can't all be 8 jokes, people. It's basically something that feels good to you to say that takes your power back. Like, all right, you know what? I tried it. You guys didn't like it. We're moving on. I'm okay. You're okay. Nobody died. Next, right? It's just a great way. And sometimes if you say that line a certain way, you will get huge laughs. So a couple of, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to share the saver lines. I think you have them too. You can say, well, my cat loved that joke this morning. Or my dog.
Oh, no. Or in the moment, I forgot every single one you gave me, and I was like, all right, so Elaine gave me a bunch of these. I don't remember any of them.
We're gonna go to an open mic in 2025. It's the scariest thing you can do with your clothes on. It's just great. Even if you don't want to be a comedian, it's just great because it's so scary and sweaty, but it's kind of fun. It's almost like it's sobriety way of doing drugs in a way. Like open mics are like, But so saver line could also be like, okay. You know what? That was hilarious in my car. Or you know what? That's all right. Some of you will get that on the way home. It's a thinker. Or, all right, people, these are the jokes. This is what I have. So, that's more of like a comedian thing. But, you can be like, hey, some of the jokes are A jokes. Some of them are D jokes. And it's really anything that is going to help you just take your power back. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to go eat some ice cream tonight and cry myself to sleep. Anything that can feel, and you might have to play with it, but it's just a great way. And watch, now that you know about these, like I was teaching comedy on a cruise, right? And it was so fun because like we did this humor workshop and then we did high tea and everybody stood up and told a joke or a story after, like, I was so like the proudest mama bear. And then later that night, we went to see a comedy show. And the poor guy, like the person who introduced him was like, hey, everybody, thanks for coming out. All right, here's the comic. Like there was no warm up. And the demographic on a lot of cruises is like 105, right? And so everyone is like totally cold and totally like, And so the guy comes out and he was like, all right. Okay. Like they were good jokes, but everybody was just like totally cold. You have to warm them up, right? And so he just kept going, okay. All righty. Yeah. And that was his savor. And he didn't get flustered. He didn't start to push or freak out. He stayed in his persona and he kept telling his act. All right. Oh, over there. Got two of you. Okay. Like he rode the wave and it was so fun. And my students were like, that was a savor line, right? Like that was a callback. Like it was so fun. And by the end of the show, he had really brought them from like dead cold to like, I wouldn't say it was like super, super hot, but he had done his job. He had done his job. He hung in there for an hour and he just rode the ride and he was willing to be in those uncomfortable spots of like, nobody's laughing. But not showing it on the outside and like, all right, okay, we're having some fun now. So, it's a great thing to do as a speaker, even if you're not going to tell a joke. Let's say you wanted to show a funny dog video that you and everybody thinks is hilarious. And the audience loves cats. I mean, you can be like, okay, I guess I missed the mark on that one. All right, can you guys forgive me? All right, let's move on. Sometimes addressing what's in the room is a great way to take your power back too, right?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I admire about you. There's like a theme of sitting in the uncomfortable and using it as a vehicle for change and for progress and for delight, right? In many ways, right? Like, how do I take the fact that none of these people are laughing right now and make a joke out of it, right? How do I transition out of that with grace and still keep going and still be okay?
Right. Well, and I think part of that comes from experience because every audience is different. You can have like the hottest show one night and you kind of come on a little cocky and it's like crickets and you're like, oh, I'm really going to have to work. Very different. And you could be telling the jokes the exact same way. Like there's a million factors. Somebody had an extra cup of coffee. Somebody just got laid. Somebody's on, like you never know what's happening in the audience, right? You never know what kind of day they had. There's a million factors that are completely out of our control. And so, another thing that comedians will do is they'll go, okay, that one was just for me. Or like I have this silly joke about like my dad's name was William Williams, so we couldn't call him Williams. We had to call him Billy. So my grandma called him, Willie, and then my mother called him Little Willie, and maybe that's why they got divorced. So then he became Free Willie, and he's always like, Elaine, don't do that joke. I'm like, don't be silly, Willie. Like, it's the silliest joke. And his last name was Williams. His first name was not, it's like a kernel of truth that we stretch, and it's totally silly. And most of the time, it gets, a lot of laughter. But, every once in a while, I'm like, all right, that one was for me. Okay. So just knowing, or just, it's okay to crack yourself up. Not all the time, but you can be like, sorry, I don't know if you guys like that joke, but it makes me giggle every time. Like, that's absolutely okay to do. And it just takes the courage to acknowledge. And a lot of that just comes from practicing, stage time, stage time, stage time. get on stage, get in front of people as much as you can, because it is a craft. It is a craft.
So how are you honing your craft these days? So I know you're a coach. You're still doing a lot on stage. I know you always are looking for places to perform to keep that craft going. So what are some of the things you're doing now? 'Cause you spent many years as a professional comedian, right? Once you had that moment of like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do, right? That's what you did full time for a long time and before coaching, yeah?
I did, yes. And I loved it. I loved going on tours. I dated this headliner. We had so much fun. We would go thrifting all over the Northwest. And, you find these cool, you come back to the clubs. So you're like, oh, I can't wait to go to that breakfast place. You get to know the place on the tours. I loved it. But then it was like, it's break even a lot of times as a female comedian. And till you get on TV a lot, you get paid $350 for the weekend and it costs you $350 to get there. So if you sell t-shirts, then you get to eat, and I was like, I love this. And I'm in my 40s. I cannot keep doing touring for break even at this point in time. So, right now I'm caretaking for my father and my mother. So I'm writing a lot. And I'm
divorced.
Yeah, who've been divorced since I was 4, but they both live close to each other, but my mother doesn't know. Like, I keep telling myself this is going to be a great one-woman show. And also, one of my goals for 2025 is I want to start my own open mic. I think it's probably going to be once a month, and it's going to be in the Dallas area. And I want it to be a fun place, especially for females, because I love comedy and it can be a dark, twisted place. And I had to sit through so many open mics where you have young guys who are talking about subjects that are like gross and they're only funny to other young guys. And every comic kind of goes through that stage. And thank God that some of them they get through it. And then there's some that never get through it. And it's very misogynistic. And the last time I went to an open mic with one of my clients, I was like, oh my God, I cannot, 2 hours of this, I'm going to shoot myself. And so I was like, we have to start our own mic. And then she had to move. But so that's one of my goals for my clients and my friends to come have a fun, safe space. So I'll keep you posted on that. So I'm writing, and then I have been watching a lot of comedy with my sister. And so she has been helping me write some stuff. So that is fun. And then, of course, I'm still speaking a lot. And I can't wait to do more comedy, like a show here too. I've been spread so thin. So I'm trying to, I'm doing it in my own way and trusting, which is hard for me. It's one of my life lessons, like trusting that when the time is right and I'm not so busy with my mom and my dad and other things, that I will have more time. Because, you're running around, you're getting up on mics. Sometimes you have to wait hours for your turn. I was spoiled because I knew everybody on the East Coast. And so now I just need to get reacquainted with my people here. So, that's what I'm up to. It's always fun to study too, right?
And you teach. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for reminding me of that. Yes. You do so many things. So yeah, I work with VIPs, and then I have the short form video class, but I'm going to be doing a storytelling class next week, and then also how to be a great podcast guest. So yeah, Elaine, don't hit the mic. What are you thinking?
No, things not to do.
Things not to do.
We'll give you a little clip of that you can use in your training.
I demonstrate. My whole life has been like what not to do. Do you know what I mean? Really, like if God was watching, like, oh, she had to have this lesson again.
They say that, the boulder's going to show up in front of you and it's going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger until you're willing to get rid of it, right? Or change paths or whatever, right? It's just going to keep reappearing until you learn the lesson. It's going to, which is like,
why am I so hard-headed, Sherry? Oh my gosh. So yeah.
I get it.
With men, with money, with cars. Okay.
All of it. Well, I'll have to have you back because I'd love to spend some time talking a little bit more about life as a sober woman and as a sober entrepreneur, because I think that's something that we share and I don't hear people talking about it quite enough as I'd like to. So let's like come back and have you do like a full episode where we just talk about our sobriety journeys, because I think that would be really cool.
Well, I would love that because, yeah, one of the reasons I'm so open about it, and you are too, is people still think of alcoholics as like the old guy with the brown paper thing. And I don't know if you watched the Grammys, but Doechii, I'm a new fan, she won for best hip hop artist, rapper, whatever, and she's only the third female to win this category. And she did like an amazing performance that was very out of the box. And at one point she said, I committed to sobriety and God told me great things will come. Anyway, her speech is amazing. So it's worth checking out. But yeah, I would be honored to come back. I love playing with you wherever we are, whatever we do, Denver, Boise, Dallas, Plano, it's always fun with Sherry.
You too. Okay, so you want to just like leave us with like 3 minutes of funny jokes? Am I like totally putting you on the spot?
No, okay. So can I be a little bit rated R, or do you want to?
Yeah, if we think it's too rated R, we'll take it out. But we're gonna put it like we'll put a little expletive warning, and you can look at me or you can look direct to camera, whatever you want to do.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Go.
So yeah, I'm sober, 24 years. I know. I miss it. I'm not gonna lie. The other day, I read this article that teenagers were taking tampons, soaking them in vodka, and sticking them up their butts to get drunk. I know. Well, my first thought was, well, would that count as a drink for me? My sponsor was like, go to a meeting immediately. But yeah, I miss it. And dating is so weird sober, right? Especially like I was in New York trying to date sober. One guy was like, I want a maid in the living room, a cook in the kitchen, and a whore in the bedroom. And I was like, I cannot cook. And then these guys, this one guy, he was so cute. Online, beautiful silver hair. Okay, some of it was coming out of his ears, but like great head of hair. Real life, bald as a doorknob. I'm kind of vain, so I told my girlfriends, oh yeah, he's going through chemo. I know, which was a really good excuse though, because when we broke up, I just said, oh yeah, he didn't make it. I know it's a little dark, but yeah. So that's, dating is weird. One guy was like a wine. He was really into wine. He was like, oh, Elaine. And he would smell the wine and be like, oh, I'm getting a lot of dark cherry on the nose. And then he'd make me smell it, right? And I'd be like, I'm getting pretentious asshole. I think that's what I'm getting. Yeah. And on the finish, you're going to make out with me and never call me again. That's what I'm really getting. Yeah. So yeah, that's dating in your 50s. So much fun.
You could do a whole show about that. You've got dating in your 50s. You've got like taking care of aging parents, right? That like, are divorced and live, close, but don't know it. And like, you've got a world of material.
Yes. And that, and that is, I'll just leave with like having a comedic mindset does not mean you have to do stand-up, but it will really help you when you have those days where you spill coffee on your favorite shirt, you get cut off in line, all the things that happen with human, right? And so instead of being like, you can say, okay, this is going to be funny content. Or I can write a blog about da-da-da, or something. I train my clients, I know you too, of like, that could be good content. Let's just put it in this, formula or this, format. So, just having a comedic mindset really helped me because I was a very serious, I got to make up for last time. People were like, whoa, casting directors were like, I can't even be in the same room with you, So comedy can help you in so many ways.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
And if people want to learn more about you, where can they stalk you?
Okay, the best place is captivatethecrowd.com. I have a free video checklist that will help you, and that way you'll get on my newsletter and we'll get connected, and you can come to my free stuff.
Awesome. And on social, it's Captivate the Crowd as well, right?
Captivate the Crowd. Yeah. Instagram is Elaine Williams Fun. I should probably make that more. But I just thought, you know what? Let's have more fun in business. So that's why I went that.
Awesome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. And the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. If someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops, that's where you'll find. I'm not warmed up at all. Oh my God. Somewhere. Oh, I am so rusty and out of shape.
Trained opera singer. My mom was an opera
Oh
singer.
my God, I forgot that about you.
I did too. I was like, what? She sounds like it.
Yeah. Over the rainbow. Love it.
You actually like you sound good.
Wow. See, I'm rusty. Like I have a tendency to be flat, so I need to work on that. But I was so inspired by the Grammys. Oh.
It's like they sound really bad. You're like, are you trained to sound bad?
Yeah.
I can't
I
when happy little bluebirds
birds fly beyond the rainbow. Oh, why can't I?
There we go.
Okay. The heart of the hustle. The heart of the hustle. The heart of the hustle. All right, I think it'd be fun. Like, yo, the heart of the hustle.
You're a drug dealer. Go.
Yeah, yo, the heart of the hustle, man. We're living on the street. We're heart of the hustle.
Someone just stole your crack. Go.